forgot everything I was going to say because you sang to me. I do residential and vacation rental design, and I've been doing vacation rental design since 2015. And I have to tell you, we don't advertise, we don't promote, and our business is circular in that we do vacation rentals, and the people that hire us to do vacation rentals ask us to do their residential. So we have somehow figured out to create a loop. It's very nice. What else am I supposed to say? Oh, okay, I can tell you something else. I'm sorry. The Collective is an organization like Regina Andrew is a member of, and we are a community of designers. We don't care if you do vacation rentals. We just care if you would like to make more money. My Doma is a sponsor, and we are a community with buying power, with support, education, collaborations, and me. So I think it's great. No, just kidding. So let's see.
Did you also say where you were located and how long you've been in business?
You can tell the singing totally threw me off. Houston, Texas, and
how long have you been in business? Did you say?
Thank you. 20 years.
20-some years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you.
I was just. I'm a Hooker Furniture brand ambassador, so I'm a hooker. I'm just getting it out there. I'm a hooker.
Brand ambassador.
Revolution Fabric brand ambassador. There you go.
Awesome. Okay, and Johnathan Miller, this is the first time I'm meeting you in person. Can you tell us where you're from, how long you've been in business, and what type of projects you work on through the laughter? Let's
follow that.
Right? I'm like, okay, she actually just threw me off to where I could not even think of what to say right away. That just, So I'm Johnathan Miller. My business is in Richmond, Virginia. I've been in business for 14 years. I do residential, commercial, and vacation rental design, and I furnish luxury real estate for sale. Now this is my payback. I can always think of everything to say normally, but, I guess that, I'm also a hooker, but she's my pimp, so that's also like, I'm a proud member of the Vacation Rental Design Collective, and since joining that, I can honestly say our profit margins, we made an extra $80,000 this year thanks to that. So.
Amazing. Woo. All right, and that's not the behind the curtain we're sort of looking for today, guys, just so you know, okay? The profit is, but hello, Candace. This is Candace Garner of Inviting Interiors. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, girl.
Yes, good morning. Candace Garner, Inviting Interiors. We're right down the road in Graham, North Carolina. We have an interior design and general contracting business, so my husband and I do renovations also. I started the business in 2018 from Panera because they had free Wi-Fi and bagels and coffee. And that's how I found Claire, honestly, just Googling, what am I doing? How can I make this a successful business? So I'm part of Claire's Boss Academy. I'm also in the collective as well, and I'm just grateful to be here.
It's awesome. So glad to see you here, and so glad to see you, how you've over the years and what you've done, and so that's why we're here today to talk about that as well. So, all right. So I really want to kick it off just sharing that. I've recently done a survey where 170 of you, thank you if anyone in here, completed my design business survey. And some of the stats were a little bit surprising in terms of like the money that you're earning, net, that you're bringing in and your revenue, net revenue. And so, we just need to be better. And I think sometimes because we're in such a creative field and we love what we do, sometimes we sort of take for granted that it's actually a lot of responsibility, a lot of liability. It's a lot of work, and then you also take time out to come things to here, like to market and other events and things that you do and take photography of your project. So, we need to make sure that we're profitable. I would say just like to quickly go over some of the numbers without trying to look at my phone and remember. Which, by the way, maybe with a few others here, I'm going through perimenopause, so I'm like, sometimes I forget what I'm going to say. So that's why the phone is there. But we're all here to help each other out, right? We got you. Okay. And so the stats were basically it was only 20% of people who filled it out were less than 3 years into their business. So, and the majority were actually 10 years or more. And the take-home salary that people were taking home, 25%, 30%, I think it was, no one was taking home a salary. And then after that, the next one was 0 to 25,000. And that was made up 60%, so basically 30-30. And then there was a few others, that were 50,000, 100,000 and above. And then the net revenue that was coming in was, the main one was either they didn't know, which scares me as well, or less than 25,000, right? So, we do so much hard work here. You guys know you're wearing all the hats and that you do all the things and you do what you can to please your client, but you're also offering amazing service. So what I wanted to ask, because I already know that all of these people here are making money in their business. They do look at profit margins. So I think my first question I'd like to kick off with is, what was the moment where you sort of realized, okay, not making money, and looking at your books and going, something has to change? And the second part of that is, what change did you make? Can I start with you? Sure.
Okay. I think for us, when I started the interior design business, we were not dependent on my income, right? Like, my husband worked full time, he did mental health work, so whatever I brought in was just kind of a bonus. I've got 3 kids at the time. My youngest was 4, and so, I just wanted a way to make a little bit of money on the side. I had started Facebook groups where I offered decluttering. So that's really how my interior design business started. Once we did these decluttering groups, people asked me to come into their homes and do different things. And really after, I don't know if I'm allowed to say COVID, but like after COVID, my husband got laid off, and he's always, been able to build anything, do anything, did tons of renovations to our own home. And I thought, what, we can make this work. Like, we can do this together. I'm not gonna lie, there was lots of prayer and panic attacks like within that to kind of push us to that place. But it really was just, okay, we need to start taking this seriously. We can make real money with doing this, and we can fulfill a need. I mean, you know how hard it is to find a good trade professional. You know how hard it is to get someone to call you back. And I felt like with his, attention to detail, and just the way he's such a perfectionist about making sure that the customer does not get taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of got that design eye. That's really what kind of propelled us forward. It's time to pay the bills. It's time to take care of our kids and take this business seriously.
I love it. It's so nice that you have someone that you can rely on to get the job done and do what you need to get done. And you're still married.
Yes.
So that's great. Yes.
We are.
Jonathan, what about you?
So I grew up in a very poor family. I was determined to go to college. I worked 2 to 3 jobs, paid my way through college, and I was just used to always working. And when I met my husband, he had an amazing job. And one of my friends sat down with him one time, told him, he's just literally killed himself through the years working. And he was like, why don't you not work for a while? Why don't you just stay at home? We got these 2 little dogs. He's like, you just do that. And I was like, oh, what? I get to be a trophy husband? I can do that. I can manage that. That's pretty good. And then I sat there and I got bored. I was like, I have nothing to do. My brain wanted to do things. I was like, okay, so I started tiny little businesses. And, here I have a degree in interior design, and I'm doing nothing with it at this point. And one day, I'm making gourmet meals. I went through Julia Child's cookbook, sending him lunches to work, to where his staff was all about what he was having for lunch. But then one day, one of his employees said, oh, what project's Johnathan doing this week? Is he just changing the drapes again? And I was like, what? Are you thinking I'm just sitting at home changing my drapes the entire time? Okay, that might have been what I was doing and shopping, but still. It made me mad enough to where I was like, okay, we're gonna expand this, and started working, and then suddenly my disposable income that was coming from him got cut off because I was making too much money, and I was in, we're the bonus money at this point, and I was like, okay, well, this is great. Well, then he started hating his job. And he comes to me and he's like, I think that, the company is already named J Squared. I'm supposed to be a part of it. I'm helping you behind the scenes. I want to join the company full time. And I was like, oh, crap. That means I have to pay for everything at that point. So I've got to, actually start paying myself something too, because I was like one of those people at that point, I wasn't paying myself. And it really was this hit home type thing, because I was like, oh my God, how do people do this? How is this just, this has been my bonus money. And now suddenly I'm thrown into this spot where I've got to be the breadwinner and cover it all. And, having been that my entire life, then suddenly switching back, I was like, oh, okay. And there are days I still wish I was still a trophy husband. But at the same time, now he's been with our company going on 7 years. And it's this great partnership. We haven't killed each other. We're not together a lot. There's 2 separate sides of the business, so that also works out really well profit-wise. But that's how it started, was that, I didn't have to stress over, paying everything, and then suddenly I did. And I think that's where a lot of times, a lot of us, we don't think about, it's like our bonus money. I was paying for vacations and things like that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I have to pay the light bill too? Somebody needs to turn the lights off, and it needs to be me.
And I would say, and thank you for your honesty with that, and I would say too that that is the case with a lot of people, you know, a lot of designers that get into this business. But honestly, and nothing against you, because I did it as well, but it does hurt our industry. Like when we're just charging low because we have a partner at home or we're making money elsewhere, it really does hurt the industry with some of the terms that we hear going around in transparency and giving our discounts or trade pricing. I mean, you know, that really shouldn't be a normal thing in this industry. Jessica?
Nobody wants to be transparent because none of us want to feel like it's a hobby.
That's
we
right.
don't want to be like, oh yeah, she does design on the side, but yet, you know, she's not doing it. And it's like, this is a hard business to
It's
run.
so hard, so
and
hard.
people don't realize that.
Yeah, not until you get in it. I don't think any of us realize it until you get in. You're like, shit, what did I get myself into here? What about you, Jessica?
Well, I have similar stories, so I'm going to tell you a little different angle, and I'll make anybody that's ever felt silly in this business, I'm going to make you feel better. Our business exploded during COVID. So I've been doing vacation rental design since 2015. But when COVID happened, all the, like those pictures of people on a plane and there's only one person on a plane, that was me. Because they were flying us around and having us revamp vacation rentals into luxury because people went from staying for a weekend to 3 months. So we were creating office environments and all this. So I was making bank at the beginning of COVID. Like, it was completely changed my business overnight. And at the end of the year, this is where you're going to feel better about yourself. At the end of the year, we looked at all the money I made. And then we looked at what I actually could pay myself. And I remember saying to my accountant, my husband was sitting there, and I was like, I feel like I should understand what the GDP is here. Yeah, that's not even an acronym you use around an accountant. I think I pulled that out of my head. I think I was trying to say like gross national domestic product. I clearly had no idea what I was talking about. I just knew that I had busted my ass for a year and had a shit ton of money coming in, and I had very little to show for it. So I got my act together. Yeah, and I completely changed my story, looked at everything differently that I did, and put on my big girl pants and figured out my business. That was my big alarm, GDP moment.
I love how you make up these different acronyms for different things. I love it. And so I would say similar to you, I was looking at like my expense sheet. I was thinking, wow, all this money is coming in. And then I like look at the expense sheet and I'm like, all of this money is going out. And, you know, on what? Like, you know, like just think like getting your photography done, getting your website done, and all of these things, right? And so you sort of look and you go, wow, I'm charging $200 an hour. Like, look at me. And then you look at your bank and you go, hang on, where is that money? Where did it go, right? And then if we're like sharing our discounts and we're not making money off of our products, then, you know, then we're just giving more money to our client and not enough in our own pocket. And nothing to do with gouging or taking advantage of, because you're offering an amazing service. And what you're putting together is the final result at the end of the day. And so that was my sort of moment where I was like, okay, you know, we need to turn around and step it up. And that's when I started looking at, probably listening to Luann Nigera, our good friend, you know, and looking more at profit margins and looking at the projects and going, okay, like how am I going to make money off of this? What am I charging for services? And all of those good things. So now let's reveal a little bit behind the curtain. I don't know who wants to go first, but we're looking at like, you know, and I do ask, I mean, other than Lauren, who's videoing for my dome over there, hello. I do ask, you know, if we are talking specifically about numbers that we, you know, you can write it down, but, you know, just don't put that on your Instagram. I know the chance of someone seeing it that we work with is pretty slim, but it's still a chance.
But we'll find you.
Yeah. Oh, look at you. I like your attitude. So who wants to break down first? Like, give us like a little brief overview of the service that you offered, the project that you were doing, the scope, what were some of the deliverables, and then within that, like, what did you charge, and how do you make sure that you're making those profit margins on products? Did you want to start? Okay.
So probably one of our most recent kitchen renovations, I will say that we start with an investment guide, which has been phenomenal for our business. You know, we haven't been in the business super long, but people want to know, what is this going to cost? So we have a cost guide that we use for our kitchen renovations and bathroom renovations. And that has been so helpful to just kind of set the tone and talk about budget up front. I think it's something that maybe we don't always want to talk about. We don't want to talk about the numbers, but we need to, because our clients need to know that they're important to us, and it's obviously important to them.
And to manage the expectations. That cost guide is amazing, and you use it, you give that to clients beforehand? Is that after the discovery? Is it when you're meeting? Like, when does that get handed to them?
So they can download it for free on our website, which is a way that we get email addresses. But then we always send it with our initial consultation information. And then I've also added that to our consultation as well. So we say, remember, like, you downloaded this, let's go through, like, how does 55,000 sound to you?
Because people don't read, right?
They don't.
Right, they don't read, yeah.
And we
Is this like a breakdown, like a bathroom costs X, like that?
Yeah, just like a general idea. So like if we're taking down walls, we're gonna start at 135. So like that's the minimum they're probably gonna spend. Now, if they're just painting, or maybe they wanna change out countertops and all that, that'll be a lower number. So it just kind of gives them general idea. But then, of course, after we do the designs and then we're speccing everything out, then we're giving them that real number.
Internally, from your point of view, though, it also helps you, I would think, keep from under quoting, because to me that's essential. I've not done this, but I'm going to create one now, because that to me, I'm like, when you're on site, someone's being nice, they're being charming, and then they say, "Oh, how much do you think this will cost?" And you're like, 90,000. Well, it's really 135.
You
So
throw out
you
that
just
number,
undershot,
right?
And then you have to go. It would keep me from having to go back and say, I underquoted this originally, because they remember the first number you say. And it's like,
That
you can say it's
ballpark.
an estimate, and they're like, oh, no, you said this. So I
Right.
would say it would help you with that. Is that right?
100%. And, we've lost clients in that way. That first couple times that you're doing consultations, you don't know how to answer all the questions, right? So we lost plenty of clients in the meantime, but it kind of pushed us to like really hone in on our numbers and know exactly what we should be making and what we should be charging. But anyway, we charge $500 for our initial consultation. That includes myself and my husband. That's just for our time on site.
So like 2 hours, 90 minutes, 2
Yeah,
hours.
And that price is going to increase to $800 at the top of the year. And we just basically go through, talk with them. I do a very brief kind of design scope, and then I go ahead and give them their design number then. So I'll say, to do all of these things that I'm saying that we need to do, it's going to be $10,000 or whatever it is. Our goal is to walk away with a check that day. So I want 50% right then, because I've vetted my clients. They know the value. They want us together. We've kind of honed in on that client. And then, we just kind of go from there. So we keep our designs separate. I do all the designs. And then once the designs are finalized, Johnathan comes in with his general contracting contract, and then we break down all those numbers as well.
So yes, it is. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, her husband's name is Johnathan. He's here. Yeah. Okay, so now you get a project. The client signed on. You've got the payment ahead of time, so like a 50% retainer, right? And you've got the contract signed. And then what is you just said what was the project that you worked on recently?
It was a kitchen renovation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So I think it was a little over 90,000 that we charged on that, and we were at 52% profit margin by the end of that. We were able to do a change order that was about 15,000. We added on a laundry room. My goal is 50% on product at minimum. Again, with using the investment guide, we were able to mark up our cabinetry 100%. So that was a huge profit margin for us. And I mean, the client was just,
yeah, I saw that
thrilled.
project. It looked amazing. Yeah, yeah. And so you're thinking ahead of time about what the gross profit margin, what you want for the overall gross profit margin of a project. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just keep that on a spreadsheet. I'm sure there's another fancier way that we could do that. We've kind of toyed with different software, but yeah, I think when you really know that you need to make money, you start taking that emotion out of it, and you say, this is what it is. And if they already know, if they already have that high number in their head, well then you've kind of set the stage
Yeah.
to be able to charge what. And we are very detail oriented. I mean, we're on site constantly. we do lots of things throughout the project, just like I'm sure all of you do. I mean, you bust it for this business. Like, you're in this business for a reason.
And are you also tracking the hours? Because I know we all love tracking our hours. So even if you throw out a flat fee, you're tracking your hours?
Okay, cover your ears. Yes, I am, most of the time, yes. But yes, I am. But I will say that you have pushed us to do that even more. And I normally, when we do the construction fee, like, I'll tag on some time for myself too, so I can build that in. Because I still want to be there when the countertops are being delivered and different things like that. So I can kind of put my time in there as well, and they know that I'm not going anywhere.
And I love that too, because a lot of times there's so many billable hours that we don't always bill for that can totally add up. And I love doing the numbers. I'll run through some of that later. But Johnathan, thank you. Candace, what about you?
So ours is similar. I want this sheet now because that's one thing that when I do the customer service thing, I'm all about charming people. My husband's more the numbers, he does all that stuff, and then he'll crunch things, and he's like, yeah, maybe we didn't charge enough for this or we did for that. And then when I became a part of the Vacation Rental Design Collective, I stopped doing hourly billing. I actually started doing by the square foot billing and then adding on things to that. And so I really increased our profit margins with that. Now, I will sell somebody a block of time. I will sell them a certain amount of hours, and those I track. But otherwise, I stopped doing it because I don't know about y'all, but I'm constantly designing and working, even if it's just in my head. So that means I'm probably billing for half that time and not getting paid. And I'm 100% working 24 hours a day. I may even text her at 2 in the morning and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And send a picture. And then I get a response. And then that's like, really, I should be sending her a check for that too. But, that's where it comes into being that tracking those hours becomes hard. Because if I sat down, I would probably be depressed at how much I'm not getting paid for. So I wanted to make sure that I'm always getting paid. And by doing it with the square footage for the house from the beginning, and I do one thing different. We do 100% payment up front for services. I found that works better than anything I've ever done because the Band-Aid is already pulled off at that point. So now if I'm buying, if I'm going to be buying a lot of product and I need to be able to do those markups, then I can give them a guesstimate for that. But they've already paid for our full services at this point. And like Candace, my husband and I, one of us is always going to be on site. Because I'm traveling, doing speaking things like that. They see me out here doing this, but I wanted them to know they're always going to have some version of us there to manage and make sure that everything's taken care of. And it's that attention to detail of them knowing that it's always going to happen. And, when I go into an appointment, I'm going to leave with a check that day. I'm going to leave with a signed contract and check.
That's the goal. That's what you want, right? And lock them right in then and there when they have your trust. And so is there a specific project that you can think of that you recently worked on where, what was the scope? Like briefly. I know we could talk about this all day long.
I had a remote project. It was a club room that I was doing that was 5 hours a day. Everything was supposed to just be remote design. That's all they were paying for me to do the design, and then I was going to order the furniture. They were paying for everything to be shipped. They had a team on site that was going to assemble, install according to my plan. And I made them pay for everything up front, which was great.
Are these 3D plans, 2D plans, mood
3D
boards?
plans, mood boards, everything.
Okay.
And then turned out delivery could not be done in that area. But the way I'd structured it, from what I'd learned from this one here, it was built into my contract that if we added on to the scope, we still got paid for that. And I think that's where sometimes designers lose a lot of money because suddenly the people on site could not handle receiving the products. It ended up having to move to my town in Richmond, 5 hours away, and I had to actually, logistically, thank God my husband did it, I didn't, organize all that to go down. But it actually added on an extra $60,000 to our profit at that point for this job because we had structured everything the right way. We paid attention, we learned from other people's mistakes, and we weren't afraid to say, I will say it was probably the hardest conversation I ever had because the client said, stop. Nothing else can go there. It needs to go here. And I was like, oh, yeah, we can take care of that for you, all this stuff. Then we started looking at the numbers. And I was about to be in the red if I did not have it in there that I could bill.
Yeah.
And then billing was the hardest part for me because I knew they were going to come back and be mad. And they were, but they were understanding about it. And I had to stand my ground.
And I think now you have a great story where you can tell the next client, like, hey, sometimes this is what happens. Like, this is unexpected occurrences that come up and expenses. It's out of my control. I'm going to do my best to manage it for you, right? But you can't not charge for it because someone's got to pay for that, right?
I'm working. And one of the biggest things that I will ever say is people give free consults. I don't. Ours, it might get you in the door, but I have one thing about that. I'm like, does a hooker ever give anything away for free? So if a hooker is making more money than you, then you're not doing a very good thing with your job. So it's a little time. So
Yeah.
I know. I wasn't gonna. I'd said the other day I was on our Zoom. I wasn't gonna say that, but then since we led with that, I was like, why not?
I will say, I think we're just again going behind a different curtain.
We all
over
want to
here.
be branded.
It is behind the
So-
curtain. So
And it's a custom drapery curtain, really. It's not a curtain at all, actually, but it just sounds better. So yeah, and now I'm going through that moment where I'm like, what was I just going to say?
And what I think too, to his point, like that's at the end of the day, that's not the type of client you want to attract. Somebody that is not going to value your time from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on getting your foot in the door. I mean, there's definitely projects that you take on that maybe in hindsight you shouldn't have, but you have to start somewhere. But free consultations is not the place to start.
I agree. And I did the free meet and greet when I started.
Excuse me, when you got the scope, when it creeps or whatever, you realized, was that an hourly rate that you charged, or was it a flat fee?
it is. We also had an employee number as well. So it was how the employees got paid $150 an hour if we had to come and actually readjust things or do things on site. But there was also the hourly fee of $300 an hour for myself and my husband to come. So that added up, and then we actually told them, like when I put it in there, I was like, okay, I'm going to bring myself, my husband, 3 employees. This is what it's going to cost you for us to do this, transport this furniture, bring it down. And we were actually still able to come in. We quoted out having it actually finding a delivery service to do it. We were able to do it for half that. So we were still the client's hero at the same time. So I know we'll get the repeat business, but we still made a nice profit off of it.
That's perfect. And just going back, because now I remembered that perimenopause moment came, but with consultations, I would suggest everybody charge for an initial consultation. When I first started, I was doing the free meet and greet. It was like 30 minutes. People were expecting so much for free. They were expecting, because they weren't invested. And I know my good friend Maria Killam always says, like, no one ever values anything that they get for free. Once I started charging, and we're at $800 for 2 hours now, I mean, people sit up, they listen, they're ready for me, and then when we have the next conversation about moving forward with design services, and we talk about like different pricing for that, they know that again, like, okay, that has to be paid up front. When we do custom furnishings, we get 100% up front. Like, you're just like, oh, hi. You're just like, you're building that trust all the way through with everything that you say that you're going to do. And then when you do it, you follow through. And honestly, the better clients I find respect that you have a process. And I know now, being like over 50 for sure, but like, I want to work with professionals who have a process. I don't want to work with someone that says, well, just pay me later, And so I think that's really important. And just before I run off of this topic, I've got to remember, just with regards to hours and tracking, I would say even if you're charging a flat fee, you should still track your hours. And I know that in my Doma, they have like the time tracker feature that you can use. Like, it's really important because you'll still be surprised. I think a lot of designers still will lose money when they're not charging by the hour, and I know that it's like a hard thing that can be to do, but if you think about all those little billable hours that add up and things that you're doing, whether it's like, speaking to people in your team or putting together a mood board or talking to your contractor and, all of those things, if you literally do the math, and I'm going to make it really simple here before we get to Jessica's answer, is, if you were charging $150 an hour and you didn't charge, let's just say 10 hours a month, that's very basic, okay? It's $18,000 a year. Now, let's say you're working on 5, 6, 7 projects and you do that 5, 6, 7 times. I'm not that good at the math, but we're over $100,000 now, right? And so also in my survey, when I had asked people, like, what is stopping you from sort of moving your business forward, the answer was, well, because limited funds. So it's a vicious circle. If you're not charging enough, you're going to land bad clients, then you're not going to make good money, and then you're not going to be able to reinvest in your business and scale and keep moving up if that's, your goal. So can you talk to us there about a project that you worked on specifically and
Sure.
what you charged and how that went, Jessica?
This last project I just did was a hybrid of like different business models for pricing. So I'm going to share this with you. I do a lot of travel for work, so I have to do it a little differently, and I get asked a lot of times how I charge for that. I don't do any free consults. If they want to work with us, great. It is $5,000 for them to sign with us and get a design vision and data. So in vacation rental design, we start with data. We do the math first. When a project comes in, we want to know what the address is, and we have a company we work with called Data Led Designs, which is also a member of our collective. and they run a extremely detailed, it's about 40-page report on the profitability of the rental we're targeting. And it's going to show us all reviews, positive and negative, of our competition, what their designs are like, how much money all of those other competitive properties are making, what activities are in the area for the past 5 years, the next 5 years. We use all of that data in our presentation to say, here is what you should do, here's what you're doing wrong, here's what you could do better, here's how you're going to double or triple your ROI, and here's why we're awesome, and here's kind of a design view of what we could do for you. That's the $5,000. If they want us to come and fly out to the property, we charge a day rate for our team to come out, and then they pay all of our travel expenses. And that's for us to walk the project. If we have to do any type of construction drawings, we use Patty Sharp right here. I have to plug her because she's amazing. And then, of course, I mark the shit up out of her. And
You need to charge more, Patty.
But so that's kind of the preface to get you in. That's how they are to work with us. So when we go to estimate a project, and I'm using all this as a recent project example, we calculate 10 hours of space. So whether it's a powder bath or a bedroom, we think of that as 10 hours of design time. That's how it works for us. And it works out. Just kind of, whether it's a kitchen, a nook, the front courtyard, it's every space is 10 hours. And that has really worked well for us.
Sorry, can I, so like
Yeah.
a kitchen wouldn't be like 25 hours and the bathroom is 10 if it's a powder room, like it's, how is it 10 hours?
We average out 10 across the board. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems to work.
And this is for the vacation rental. Are you are you demoing at this? Are you renovating or you're decorating?
Well, sometimes we have new construction, completely from the ground, vacation rentals. That's a different model. So I'm talking about the last project, which was an existing building. So we can average, and that's a great question and point, Claire, but for an existing project, we're able to say 10 hours per space. A foyer, a powder bath, like all those words, 10 hours. Think of it that way. And for us, that averages out. Here's the other part of what we do. So when we're coming in, we do blocks of time. And if there is any construction, we do a price per square foot. What am I at, 18? $18 a square foot to work with us. But we do blocks of time. And I actually think blocks of time are magic. And I got this idea years ago from my Doma, because they sold packages, so I do blocks. And the reason why I love blocks of time for what I do is I tell all of our owners, investors, you're gonna need a 50-hour block with me, 100 hours, 75, 20, I don't know, I just decide when I'm looking at them, because are you high maintenance or not? But what I tell them is, this is your time. You're purchasing time with me. So whether we use all of it on this investment property or not, if you have some left over, you can use that however you want. Maybe you're going to have another investment property. Maybe you need some help at home. But if you have any time left over, since it's just time, you can use that. Well, they always run out of time, but now they're excited for the next project. Or maybe if I really want to work with them, I've found a few hours. How are you going to use this couple of extra hours? What project do we need to talk about? This is your time you purchase with me. And I can tell you, for me, this works. It is a continual flow of time.
Yeah, I love that.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you because I'm on a roll right now.
Do it.
I'm
I
having a
forgot what I
moment.
was just going to say.
Markup is always 2.75 or more. And I know that sounds low to some people, but it really depends on the line. So I use my Doma, and I go in, and all my lines, I've pre-marked it up. So when I'm creating my invoices, I know that Regina Andrew is 3.2, or this line is a 2.75, and that's how I figure out all my markups. I don't want to think about it. I just already know who I'm going to make the most money off of, which ones I'm going to have to think about for Google reverse image.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I would say, too, a couple things. So when it comes to, you're talking about like blocks of time, all that I would say is just suggest to that is we put a name to that, which we call designer by your side. just because you are selling more than blocks of time, you are selling your service, you are selling an exquisite finish and all of those things. I also love that you don't, like, it's not like you're going to refund if you didn't spend 5 hours, because you need to now also do your financial planning and know how much money you're going to make. And if you're going to be giving back people because they're like, well, I want a few hours here, a few hours there, then that's not a projection that you can accurately track.
And your blocks of time expire in 1 year.
Yes.
That's
love it.
crucial.
Okay.
Make sure you put that expiration on there, because otherwise I did not on one job, and somebody came back, suddenly they wanted me to do Christmas because they thought they had some time left. Thank God they didn't. But
Yeah.
it was, and we do $26 a square foot, because she talked me into doing that at one point on a project. But we do that, and then but we only sell them a 24-hour time block with their first part, and then I add on to that time block after that.
Okay.
So it's because I'm making them pay a lot more money up front. So
Yeah.
I needed to figure out a way somewhere to make that a little less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How many, not what you pay yourself, but you also calculate in what your team is being paid.
Oh, yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, because that's the thing, sometimes people forget, oh yeah, we were taught that the business owner doesn't always pay themselves, but you pay your people. And when I started my business, I started out with what I was going to get paid, but also that I was going to need a staff of 5. And I just made the number up. So I paid 5 imaginary people for the first 3 years. So then whenever I actually hired them, I had money in the bank to hire them. And I think that was very important, because sometimes we keep costs lower by not thinking about that I'm going to need help later. And then when you actually have to hire someone, suddenly you're going to take that money away from yourself in order to pay them. But with the old school 50s business model of the owner doesn't get paid, if you're not getting paid, how are you going to take money away from yourself? And literally, you're just pulling money out until there's suddenly, I joked with Jessica, I was like, you're getting paid 45 cents.
I did live that moment of a 45-cent paycheck, but no more. But I want to add on to that. Thank you for saying that. So I hear a lot of people say, okay, well, are there different rates for different designers? And I know some people do that, like, I'm this price per hour, but there's an admin fee, and there's a junior design assistant, and all these different things. I don't do that. We're a team. So our rate of $300 an hour, that's it. If you want to work with us, that's our rate. I'm not going to do this crazy math and say this gal's this and this. No, we are one unit.
That's right. I love that. And then also with that, because now you're also profiting off your staff, because you might be paying $25 an hour or $50 an hour to your, or whatever the rate is to your staff. I'm just
Alyssa, you're
throwing this-
priceless.
Putting more people in, like ours is $300 an hour for us, and then our staff is $150 an hour. Since she pointed out, I was like, my team did not get paid $150 an hour for that job.
Right.
So we still made a profit off of that. And it is just the 2 rates.
Yeah.
And that's only because sometimes, if people see you on a job, they're like, well, that's not Jessica.
Right.
So should this person be am I paying for them?
If
She's
anybody
still
says
the team.
something to you like that, though, he who speaks first loses. So if anytime a customer, like, well, this seems high, does it? Okay. I'm just like,
I'm
So
gonna add
hard
a
to
PA
do.
charge on
I'm
that.
like, do you
So-
need to, and I learned this from Dan Foley. If somebody says, well, that chair is way too expensive, then you're supposed to say, I can find you something cheaper if you need, like if this is out of your budget, out of your scope, you can't handle this. Obviously, you're going to say it nicer, but, you just kind of just go quiet.
Yeah. I found that's a hard lesson. For
is a
people
hard
who like to
lesson.
talk a lot, that's very hard. But the longer you can be silent, someone's going to have to speak first. And if you can bite your lip longer, then they probably end up going, okay, I'll have that chair. I see what you're saying.
It's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna, and then I'm going to be quiet, maybe. But when you're presenting your fees and all these things we're talking about, you just present it and then you just shut your mouth. That is the best advice I've ever been given.
Yeah.
I was told once, there are a lot of pretty people in this room, so I have a feeling, how many mean girls were in here in high school?
I'm not going to admit to that.
Yeah, I know, that's the whole point. So I was told by a designer once that was like, whenever somebody asks you to lower your price, you channel the inner mean girl from high school, and you look at them and you say, I can do that cheaper. Yeah, sure. And they automatically flash back to that, and they're like, oh, no, I want to be just as good as this person. And their wallet opens up. So
You're so funny. Okay, I'll just share a little bit really quickly on how we do like custom decorating projects, like for furnishings. And we try to keep it like really simple over the years. We know now that like, let's say for one room, like a bedroom or a living room or a dining room, we typically average that it's going to take us around 40 hours to do that. As long as there's not like custom built-ins involved, then the price goes higher. But we start at $6,000 for that. And then if we're going to go like and do a built-in, I know I'm going to have multiple conversations with my cabinet maker, so we start at $8,000. Again, depends on the size of the room. I'm just saying an average, okay, living room, bedroom. And then we let clients know that the furnishing budget, the investment that they're going to be doing for that is going to be around $25,000 to $30,000. And so when we get our pricing in from our design center that we work with, I've stopped like, we sort of afterwards will have a little look, but I just give like, I take them and I go, adding 70% markup. Because a lot of stuff that we do is custom, like custom sofas, and so we've done one recently, and we can, like you all can, we can adjust the size. We can say, do we want piping? Do we want top stitch? We can pick a specific fabric. Maybe it's a higher grade of fabric, all of those things. And so we've just found that the markup of 70%, and that includes like custom window treatments and stuff like that. That gives us a gross profit margin of 40%. So you get, it's very confusing, markup and gross profit margins are two very different things, right? And then the goal for us is our overall project is that we're looking for 40 to 60% overall. So that's now including our design fees. So if you have a room, let's just say, and we pay $15,000 for cost of goods, and then we sell it to our clients for, I made notes on this. What's 70% on that? 26,000. So and then I know. I'm sorry. I have it on my phone here, but I don't want to look because then I got to put on my glasses. It's a pain. But that's really what we look at doing when we're working on projects. And then when we present to a client, we present a whole number. The last 5 years, we've stopped breaking it down and saying, this is the sofa, this is the armoire, because then they're going to go like, oh man, that sofa's like $7,000 or whatever. And I don't want them to break apart the room because the room is the way that it is, and it's the result that we're giving them. And really, I always equate it to, I now call it like my all-inclusive package, which is like, if you're taking a trip and you say, listen, I want to go to Costa Rica and I have $15,000 and I want the four of us to go as a family and we're looking for a swim-up bar or and I don't need to know what the cost of the bus was to get me from the airport to there, the shuttle, or what the extra was for the swim-up bar, or if they're calculating my drinks. I know what I'm looking to pay and what I'm willing to invest, and I just want someone to go and find me that. And that's essentially what you're doing for your clients as well, right? So I've just found that to be a lot easier rather than fiddling with the numbers, as I'm sure we all have spent a lot more time. In a minute, we'll ask questions. Sorry, because I don't know how much time we have left. We got 10 minutes left. So
Can I add one thing to that? Because I do that
Please.
too.
Okay.
In vacation rental design, we get asked that a lot. And we never break down a room by items. Never.
good. Yeah, because again, you're not selling the items, right? If we get that out of our head, we're actually selling the result. We're selling the look, and we're just selling, the lifestyle with that.
And if you have most clients, they don't want to be a part of it. But if you give them that itemized list, suddenly then they start thinking, well, maybe I could find this cheaper, or maybe I could use Great Aunt Fanny's table or whatever. But when you give them that flat rate, they sign, it's your job. As long as they know you're doing your job, they stay out of your way until you're done.
Yeah.
And then all you're doing, you get to feel like you're cashing checks, even though you're working yourself to death.
I was just going to say, I would say the same thing on the construction side. Like, we're not breaking down anything. They get a product, we're telling them what they're getting, and then they get a labor, and that's it. Like, we're not breaking down our trades either.
Yeah, because you don't have to say, I have a brother-in-law who could do that electrical work. You're like, oh, we all know how that goes, right? I think before we have about 10 minutes left and we want to take some Q&A. Thank you for giving me that heads up. I would just say like the goal would be, and to see this lady here flourish, I'm sure you've seen Johnathan, is like and you send me her numbers every now and again. She'll send me an email, go like, here's what we did last year, and this year we're already like over that, and we still have 4 months to go. And she's also working out like fewer projects, better clients, more money. Like that is the goal. That is what we all want. And again, you don't. Busy isn't better. I think a lot of times people think being busy is better, but if at the end of the day the bottom line isn't there, then you're working for free.
I want to give her another shout. just bowing down, because one of the biggest things that people think in North Carolina is it's going to be less expensive. The rate is not going to be, it's going to be
Because
much
you're
lower.
here?
Yeah, it's going to be much lower. And when she's talking about her numbers, and some of them are higher than mine are in Virginia, I'm so proud to be sitting next to her, because I'm like, you know what? She's commanding her market. She is controlling her market. Her market's not controlling her. And I think that's one of the most important things you ever learn, is that you're getting paid what you're worth. And if you think you're worth $75 an hour, then you might need to look in the mirror and talk to yourself a little bit, because you're doing way more work than that.
That's lovely. Oh, we're all going to cry here. Okay, we can take some questions. I don't know, do you have a microphone, or what do we? Sorry, hi. Oh, is someone doing this? Oh, she has a question about shipping and logistics, and do we mark that up? Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so I can speak. For us, we don't mark up the shipping and the freight. That is a separate line item. I have the privilege of working with a design center that's local in my area, so they wrap all of that up together. So I'm not getting like different estimates from different vendors, and so but that is one thing we do not mark up. But like not the freight and the white glove delivery. But I would love to hear about how you guys do that.
Just to be brief, I mean, we mark it up 25%, but then we still would charge like hourly on top of that, but the actual freight is 25%.
We do 20%, and then the hourly. See, you beat me again. 25. I'm like, okay, I'm going up.
Damn, I'm
raising
gonna
some
start. I'm
prices.
gonna start doing it
I
too.
was
Look
like,
at
I'm
this.
raising some prices up. But no, that 20% and then our hourly. But I also take into that. We may not be handling every single part of logistics, but we deserve to be paid for that, because I'm still taking certain calls. I'm still answering the questions. I'm still going.
Oh, I'm
back.
not saying you're not getting paid for it. That
Oh,
wasn't.
no,
I think the question was, are you marking up
Right,
the actual
it's the
freight
markup.
and
No,
white
I mean,
glove?
like, that's part of it. I put in there in my head.
Right.
That markup is actually going to pay me for something that I'm not paying myself for.
Okay, if
In
you're
that
not
sense.
charging
So,
for every
yeah,
hour
that
of
I'm
something.
not charging for every
Got
single.
you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
again,
it's a
I
good
think
buffer.
that's where you look at the end project, and that's where you work out your gross profit margin at the end of the project and see where you're sitting. Sorry. Yep. Sorry. Question.
So on that, when you do the room design, and you're giving them a whole package, is that separate, completely separate from labor? Like, there's no design time involved in that?
Be a little more specific.
If you're giving them a design package with all the furnishings and everything in that room, does it include at all any design time? That total?
Oh, product only. Yeah, I think what we're saying is that we're presenting the product only at that point. We've already established what our fee is going to be. Yeah, I would say so. How are we doing for time? Are we okay?
And we have a question here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I have two more questions back there, and then we'll be ready.
Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to know, do you list the deliverables in your letter of agreement so that if a client should decide, say later on, that they would like to have their fireplace done, but that wasn't mentioned in the beginning, you say, hey, we need to an addendum to this
100%.
letter of agreement, so that we would do your fireplace
Yes.
for you.
Yes, no, that's a great
Okay.
question. So the question is essentially like talking about like scope creep, and do you put it into your letter of agreement, or would you put it into your proposal, for example? You have to have that documented for sure, and then let them know, like, and have that conversation with them. Like, just say like, oh, hey, while we're doing this, now I realize I've just taken over, and Jessica, maybe you had something to say on this. I'm just keep rabbiting on. Yeah, and so, just making sure that at the end of the day, the client knows, like, this is what this is involved. You mentioned in the consultation that you might want to look at the basement after, like, this is totally separate to that, right? That sort of thing. And I think also just on that topic is, like, if they are sort of, like, not sure about the number, or it's getting, like, it's always more expensive than they thought because they haven't decorated or designed for years, so they don't really know. We've then gone to a client and was like, what, let's do the living room first, and then we'll do the dining room after, or let's do the main floor first, and then we can do the basement in a separate. Like, it's going to cost more because now we're not ripping it all out at the same time and being there in once, but, they have options too, right? Doesn't mean you lower your price to try to fit into their budget. The price is still the price.
I don't know if I've got this on, but when you say design fees, does that include project management later on too? Or is there hourly for that on top of the design fees? Like for your 10 hours per space, is there more design procurement hours after that?
Oh, yeah, when I said 10 hours, that's just for me to design it. Now, that has nothing to do with my procurement hours or my install hours or sourcing. That's all different. That's just what they're going to pay us to make the design of the project, the 10 hours per room.
Okay, and then when you said you charge a certain price per square foot, but you add on for certain things,
Sorry, could you give her the
what
microphone?
are those certain things?
Jessica, can you repeat
He
the
charges
question?
per square foot, but he adds on for certain things, maybe a couple of examples of what those certain things are.
Can you guys repeat the question, just because I think we missed?
She wanted to know because I do $26 a square foot and then I add on things after that. Now, don't think I'm just giving them an itemized list of add-ons after that. I do that, then I do the initial block of design time, which is only for the design. Then I do for sourcing. Then I do for if I'm going to do anything project management. I make sure I have everything lined out to where they know, where they don't assume that a service is included. And if they, even for instance, if they say, hey, I want a list of the furniture you're buying for our insurance, they can only have that at the end, and then I have a $1,500 to $2,000 fee for that furniture list. Because that's also going to take me a lot. I mean, I might have ordered everything, but I'm going to have to go back and create this nice, pretty list to give them. And that's, that's a profit something. I can make profit.
Unless you use My Doma. You probably have that already created for you.
Oh, Candace, our Excel spreadsheets. It's just like,
Okay, we have 2 more questions, maybe 1 more, and then we have to wind it up. And sorry, they're already queued up over here. 1, 2, and 3.
Hi, thank you very much. This has been awesome, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of people in the room when I say that. My question is this. When is it the reverse? We're talking a lot about when the client chooses you and you say, here's the contract, here's how much I cost. But I assume that there are times when you're choosing them and your choice is no. So I'm wondering, that's a 2-part question, right? Which is, how do you know, or what are the signs that you look for that kind of say, this is not a fit for me? And sometimes I imagine those are outside of just eye and style. And then the second piece is, how do you say no or walk away or not hurt anyone's feelings? Thank you.
Well, I use my gut, honest to God, first of all, if I have a bad feeling. And sometimes they really want to work with you, right? So my number is a lot higher. I call it the pain in the ass fee.
The PETA fee.
And if they're willing to pay this crazy number I threw out there, then we're going to figure it out. But I just go with my gut. And I've had to fire myself off a project for the first time ever this year. It looked like whiskey at night. It was rough. And I ate a $10,000 install fee to get away from this psychopath. But I feel great about it, and I changed my contract again. But I said, we're not the right fit for you. We can't make you happy. I was told to do the whole, it's not me, it's you. I mean, it's not you, it's me talk, but I didn't. I said, I can't make you happy. This is never going to work, and it's going to just get worse. So I'm going to waive this last fee. I mean, we got him, 90%, and then I drank whiskey and slept great. Do it. Fire yourself if you have to.
when you're charging correctly, you can actually choose the client. That's where sometimes it's like you're not having to take a job just for money. Right before I came here, she had given me a $10,000 check. She had signed her contract, and then she called and she said, maybe I want to get a quote for someone else. And I looked at it I said, I'm going to come by your house on my way to High Point and give you your check back, because this is not going to work. Because the clients that come for me, they want to work for me. I've developed that reputation. If you're having one thought, my gut is, like she said, if my gut tells me that it's not going to be a good fit, and I talk myself into it, I'm going to end up being miserable, and it's not going to happen. So I would rather hand that check back. And then I've had 2 jobs call since then that are actually more profitable, because the universe is like, nope.
One door closes, the other one opens. We have one more question, I think.
Yep, last one. Great chat, thank you. Since we started with data, maybe we'll end with data. You mentioned you had a national feel for how designers are doing. When we look at ourselves, there's a lot of ranges in what we bill annually. So you might have a $500,000 designer, $2, $3, $4, $5 million designer. Do you see a commonality in the profit margin at the end of the year as firms scale up? So if I'm a $2 million designer in billings, what do you see profit margin? at
Will
the
you
What
fill
does
out my
that data
survey?
say?
Will you fill out my survey with the $2 million?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I didn't add specifics on that, like, so I don't have a specific number for you on that. I would just say, like, at the end of the day, I still sort of stand by the 40 to 60% overall profit margin on a project. You have to have some sort of goal of what you're going for. And then also, I know right now, we have the tariffs and we have other things that are happening. I don't say, like, bring your fee down necessarily or anything like that to try to accommodate, but sometimes you have to look at what's happening in your business and where we're at. And so I was trying to figure out at that time is, like, are we able to right now, like, can we increase the profits right now? Does it make sense? I think just the main thing that I would love the takeaway to be here, and thank you for that question, would be just make sure that you're tracking your hours. Make sure that you know that you're offering an amazing service. Make sure you are also structured with what you are offering and make sure that you are organized in the back end. You can't just show up and fake it till you make it. I don't believe in the fake it till you make it, right? People can smell that and they can sense it. And it does take a while to gain that confidence over time, right? We were gonna have one final thing. I don't know, Helena, if we don't have time.
No, you guys just close it out. You guys got to catch them after and
Oh
ask
yeah,
your questions.
we're here.
They're not
Are you
running
around?
away.
Are you jumping away somewhere after this?
We have a little bit.
Okay, so just before we go, I'm just going to plug, well, Jessica, I'm going to let you plug yourself because you're good at that. Because I couldn't remember his if anyone is not already, you can join my Facebook group, Interior Design Business Strategies. It's a free Facebook group. We have 8,000 members there. It's a supportive community. And Jessica, you have the VRD Collective.
I have to tell you that when I started my business, the very first coach who I downloaded a program from was Claire, and it was called Rock the Consult.
I still have it.
And it's freaking awesome, and she is a big reason why I'm here today. So.
Oh my God, now you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much. Well, it's amazing to see what you've accomplished, my dear.
And join the Vacation Rental Designers Collective. See Alyssa there.
Join it. Work with the people in your area. It's so funny. A designer just came in my area. If you don't know, I'm horrible with kitchens. I refer every kitchen to her. She's amazing. And it's literally, if you're working together, your prices are going to be better. You're going to be able to charge correctly for your area, and you're overall going to make more money. And it's actually getting out there and not being afraid to speak to each other, but it's also not being afraid to refer a job to someone else because you're afraid you're not going to get the next job after that. It's
Especially
insane.
if it's not the right job. That's right. So I just want to take a moment to thank Regina Andrew. Thank you everyone for being here. As I said, if you don't know who your rep is or you haven't looked at the showroom, take a look. It's obviously gorgeous. And thanks again to my Doma as my studio designer.
Hey,
Thanks,
Claire.
you guys.
Claire,
This is great.
can you
Hi.
keep everyone there, like the panelists? We want a picture.
Oh, yeah.
So don't run away.
Yeah, okay.